Have you been having challenges trying to draft a basic sleeve pattern from scratch? If you have, then you are in luck because this video is for you. This video is a step-by-step process on how to draft your basic sleeve pattern from scratch. It's very easy and beginner friendly. I'll be right back. Are you looking for free value you can apply right here and now? Then you are in the right place, because here at The Nook, I provide you with actionable tips and tricks that you can use in business and life. Today's video is a very practical one. We'll be drafting a basic sleeve sloper from scratch. So it's very easy, it's very quick, but you'll be needing your basic border sloper to do this. I'll link a video here that you can use to draft your basic border sloper from scratch if you've not done that already. And let's go to the workroom to continue. The first thing I'm going to do is to use my tape rule to measure the back arm's eye, and then I'm going to go to the front and measure the front arm's eye as well, and then record it so that I don't forget. So I'm not measuring them in total, I'm just getting the individual measurements for the front and the back. So here I'm just going ahead to write down the measurements I'll need for my basic sleeve pattern draft. I need the measurements we took for the front and the back, the biceps, the elbow, the wrist measurement, the sleeve length, and also the sleeve cap. I'll link the video here on how to get your basic sleeve measurements. It's attached to the video where I do my basic bodice measurements. The sleeve cap measurement is basically the total armhole, which is the front and the back arm side together, divided by 3. This calculation has a 1.5 cm ease for shoulder pad, so I'm going to remove it because it's a basic sleeve draft. So I folded my paper into 2 equal halves just to give me the center point. That's a personal preference, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. Here I'm going to mark the length of the sleeve, which will be from point A to point B. So your sleeve length, you're going to mark it on that center line, and you're going to draw the line connecting A to B. At this point, I'll just quickly calculate my sleeve cap, which I said before is the total armhole measurement divided by 3 minus 1.5 cm, which had been added for ease for shoulder pad, which we do not need for our basic sleeve draft. So I'll mark the result measuring from point A downwards and call that point C. The next thing to do would be to calculate the biceps measurement divided by 2. After doing that, I'm going to square across the C point on either side with that measurement I have gotten. So for example, my biceps is 34 cm. I divided that biceps in 2, which is 17. So I'm squaring out 17 on either sides of point C, but I'm not going to label them for now. The next thing I'm doing at this point is to get the elbow length. So to get the elbow length, I'm going to measure point C to B, and I'm going to divide it by 2. Squaring down from point C, I'm going to mark that reference point. From that reference point, I'm going to mark 2 cm upwards and then mark it as point D. At this point, I would like you to draw a horizontal line at that point D, divide the elbow measurements by 2 and draw it out on either sides of point D by that amount. For example, my elbow measurement is 30 cm, divided by 2, that makes 15 cm. 15 cm on either side, that's what I will draw on point D and label them point D1 and point D2. I'll repeat the same process at the B point. Here I'll use the wrist measurement divided by 2, and I'll use that measurement on either side of point B and label it point B1 and point B2. At this point, you can go ahead and label either sides of the C line, C1 and C2 respectively. I had a little bit of mishap while recording, so I'll be using this illustration to explain the next steps. At this point, we'll continue from line C. Let's extend the C line after C1 and C2 as we so please. The next thing we're going to do at this point is to divide the armhole measurement, the total of the front and the back, by 2. The result of this calculation should be used to pivot from point A to anywhere it touches the C line. We're going to call this point on either side of the sleeve E1 and E2. So get the center point between E1 and C1 and C2 and E2 and mark the center point as a form of reference. The next step will be to join point A to the midpoint we had marked out. Next thing we will do is to divide the angular line on the sleeve cap in 4 equal places. Please use your tape rule for this process. I already used mine and I was just marking it with my marker pen. I'll go ahead to join my C lines with my B lines through my D lines. Starting from the right hand side of the sleeve, which is the front, we're going to go down on that point 1.25 centimeters. Moving inwards, we're going to do the next point and we're going to go up 0.25 centimeters. Here we're going to move upwards by 2 centimeters and then we'll go to the back sleeve. For the first point at the back sleeve, we're going to move upwards 1.5 centimeters. At the next point, we'll be moving upwards 1 centimeter. At this last point, we'll be moving downwards 0.75 cm. I'll go ahead to add my annotation so that we know what line is what. This step is really tricky, but after you do it the first time or second time, you get familiar with it. So just watch as I join all the points together using my armhole curve. If you notice, I flip it back and forth, that's the armhole curve, so that it fits the curve of the armhole. So you don't keep it on just one point, you have to flip it back and forth to get the shape that you desire. Here's a closer look of how it turned out. The next step is to check the back armhole measurement you had gotten from your basic body sloper and mark where it stops. Starting from the opposite end, measure that of the front and mark where it stops as well. If you have an excess of say 1 centimeter to 2 centimeters, that's fine. We can ease it into the cap of the sleeve when sewing. However, if the excess is way more than 2 centimeters, it is recommended that you reduce the cap height, say by 0.5 centimeter, and redraft your sleeve. So this is a basic sleeve, but personally I like contouring that underarm point. What I'm going to do is to go in by say 1.75 cm at the deepest part. I'm using my ruler. I just do it naturally. I freehand it most times because the curve of the multipurpose ruler kind of flows into it. And I'm going to mirror this on the other side of the pattern using my tracing wheel so that I'm sure that both sides are exact. I hope this video was clear and simple to follow. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and also turn on your notification bell so you get notified when I publish a new video, which I currently do weekly. So I'll be giving out a few books for 3 consecutive weeks to some of my subscribers on this channel. If you would like to win one of these books, please drop a comment in the comment section below stating what you learned from this video. I'll pick randomly from the people who have dropped comments and I will announce the winner in the following week. Until I come to you next time, please stay safe and keep healthy. Bye. Bye.